Like, man, you got to ease up a little bit. He wants to run every route 100 times, but you rather have to ease up on the guy, making him kind of ease up on himself, but you know he wants to work and to be the best player that he could possibly be. And the talent's through the roof. I think anybody can see that. And I think he's gotten better and better. And even though he wasn't active all year long, he was in the building and he was able to see the guys. I'm excited for him, man, to get out there and be able to get the reps and practice.
So we have a lot to update you on for the defending Super Bowl champions, and a lot of it's good news, some of it's speculation, and one piece of the information is some kind of bad news. So before we get to the content, we're giving away $1,000 split between 5 subscribers that turn on their notifications on this channel. And now that we get all that out of the way, break! Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? The Kansas City Chiefs have had one hell of an offseason. I mean, from the moment they won the Super Bowl, this organization has taken nothing but W's. Whether it's in the form of Patrick Mahomes soaring to new heights and being more than happy with the amount of money he is being paid, despite him getting paid a below market level contract for a quarterback.
Me, my agent, and the team always keep open communication. And we try to do whatever is the best for the team, but obviously I want to do the best for myself as well. But at the same time, I've always said I worry about legacy and winning rings more than making money at this moment. You just want to do whatever to not hurt other quarterbacks whenever their contracts come up. You want to kind of keep the bar pushing. And so it's not about being the highest paid guy. It's not about making a ton of money. I've made enough money where I'll be set for the rest of my life. But at the same time, you got to find that line where you're making a good amount of money, but you're still keeping a lot of great players around you so you can win these Super Bowls and you're able to compete in these games.
Or even the biggest win that they took all off season long, which is Jackson Mahomes getting arrested. Okay, jokes aside, there's been a lot of question marks for the Kansas City Chiefs, as there is for any team that has won the Super Bowl. Typically what ends up happening once a team makes it to the Super Bowl and wins a Super Bowl is you'll see that team becoming completely dismantled. There will be players that are leaving as a result of them feeling that they deserve significantly more money. There will be players that would get overpaid in free agency. And what's very unique about the Kansas City Chiefs is this primarily happened to them last offseason. Last offseason, they traded, without a doubt, a top 3 player on their team, or a top 4 player on their team at minimum, Tyreek Hill, depending on what order you put him in between Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Chris Jones and himself, and in return got tremendous draft capital and I guess you could say some salary cap relief. So going into the regular season, they were left with a wide receiver room that was pretty much a gigantic dartboard, if you ask me. It was almost as if Andy Reid went to Brett Veach and said,
"Get me fast football players."
And that's what they went for. I mean, yeah, there was Juju Smith-Schuster, who was supposed to be more of a possession wide receiver. On top of that, there was Marquez Valdez-Scantling, who teamed up with Mecole Hardman. They drafted Sky Moore, and they signed Justin Ross in the offseason to fill the void that Tyreek Hill left behind. Ultimately, Patrick Mahomes was able to win a Super Bowl with this wide receiver room on one leg, quite literally. And the coolest part of all is this is all on Netflix for us to see as a result of the quarterback show. But what about this offseason? What was the Kansas City Chiefs' grand plan coming into this year? What does a team that has already won a Super Bowl do to become even better? Well, fortunately for the Chiefs, it seems like they're in a much better situation. They tried to throw another dart at the dartboard in the offseason by drafting Rashee Rice in the second round of the NFL draft. In the middle of the season last year, they also traded for Kadarius Toney. Make no mistake, one wide receiver on this team is going to make themselves a household name for the Chiefs. It's kind of funny because it seems like they're employing the same philosophy once again. They brought back the speedy Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Sky Moore, known for his speed. They already have Kadarius Toney. They drafted Rashee Rice. Justin Ross has been able to return to training camp, and they signed John Ross to a futures contract last year, who was selected 1 pick before Patrick Mahomes, just based upon him breaking the 40-yard dash record. So while we were in editing, John Ross officially retired. A lot of you guys have been asking me on Twitter, why would this be the case? This was primarily to do with the fact that he was getting injured a lot and he just couldn't keep going. He kept trying to get back into it, but if you think about it, the last time John Ross took a snap was the 2021 season with the New York Giants. It's really unfortunate, and I know a lot of people are going to say, he's a bust, but at least he realized sooner rather than later that this isn't the career for him, and he signed a 4-year, $17.1 million contract with the Bengals in 2017 and a 1-year, $2.25 million contract with the New York Giants in 2021. If he invests that money properly, man, he's set, honestly. I wish John Ross the best. Maybe we'll see him back in the NFL as a wide receiver coach or in coaching, or maybe he does something completely different. And although I feel bad that he wasn't able to continue his career, I'm at least happy that he was able to get into the NFL, make significant money, and leave the NFL without sustaining a huge head injury. So I wish him the best. So you might be thinking at this point, Mike, what is the Kansas City Chiefs' problem? Well, they have two big problems. One is who is going to be Patrick Mahomes' wide receiver one, which is a very prestigious honor to hold, and there's multiple contenders on this list. Kadarius Toney has sustained an injury, and he actually went through a procedure to clean up some stuff in his knee, but unfortunately, he hasn't been available as much during training camp, which means that this frees up a golden opportunity for every wide receiver on the Kansas City Chiefs. And the one wide receiver I'm looking at in particular is none other than Rashee Rice. Rashee Rice has been very involved in training camp so far. All of X, no, it's seriously called X right now. And I don't know if Des Bryant wants to sue X for copyright infringement, but that's besides the point. Can't get over the fact that it's called X. And Rashee Rice has been very dominant so far, getting very acclimated to Patrick Mahomes. Again, if one wide receiver just locks in and realizes the golden opportunity at hand, realizes the fact that he gets to team up with Patrick Mahomes and could have a career made based off of that, especially in this particular instance, again, Kadarius Toney is nowhere to be found, so one wide receiver needs to step up. And there are two primary contenders in this particular instance, one being Rashee Rice, the other is Justin Ross. Justin Ross is a player that we have been hyping up since he got signed to the Kansas City Chiefs. This is a young man that would have potentially went in the top 15 of the NFL draft last year had he had remained healthy. So the Chiefs did sign him, and last year things were looking up for him. And then once again, he would sustain yet another injury. But so far, this is what we're hearing about Justin Ross. According to NFL Rookie Watch, Justin Ross was very involved in day one of Chiefs training camp. He even saw reps with the first team and Patrick Mahomes. Ross is also reportedly trying to add special teams value to the Chiefs. As a matter of fact, we have footage of him returning punts. Andy Reid said that Ross has already earned trust from Patrick Mahomes. Peter Schrager predicted earlier this offseason that Ross would have a breakout season. The Chiefs' sophomore wide receiver is off to a hot start. I love this Twitter page because the last line is always
this player is off to a really good start,
with the same emoji each and every single time. I don't mean to hate, man. Good for him. I'm glad he's eating. We also have Sky Moore, who's saying he's significantly more comfortable in his sophomore season. Watch.
30 times more comfortable. Just knowing, having an idea of the whole playbook, going through it 1 year before, and just understanding the culture that that the Chiefs have in Kansas City.
Now let's talk about some of the stars of the Kansas City Chiefs. We have multiple stars that are in some trouble, and we're gonna go from very small degrees of trouble that, in my opinion, isn't that big of a deal, to something that's pretty sizable. Let's start out with Travis Kelce. Look, man, in training camp, you see this all the freaking time. When you just get back to playing football, men are getting physical with one another in the hot sun. You're bound to see some scuffles break out between teammates. And the very first one, I have to admit, I don't think it's that severe. Travis Kelce got into it with DiCaprio Bootle following a play, and you can see that Travis Kelce may have thrown a little bit of a punch here, or maybe it was a slap. I don't necessarily know how to classify this. It wasn't something that was that big of a deal, and honestly, I don't know why players punch other players in the helmet. It's something that I never quite understood. Isn't that just going to cause a lot of damage to your hand and not necessarily to the other player? But you can see he got separated by his teammates, and the Kansas City Chiefs then moved on to their next play in practice until Saturday morning when Travis Kelce was running with the first team. You can see this time his quarterback is Patrick Mahomes, and after catching a touchdown in the end zone, he throws a much bigger punch at Jack Coketrain. Honestly, I know this one looks to be a little bit more severe than the other one. I guess Travis Kelce just felt like he got hit really late here. Well, this was buzzing in general on social media. I don't think there's going to be huge repercussions coming out of this. We see this almost each and every year during training camp, but I did think it was notable enough to include it in this video. Now, all this is bringing us to the only bad news that we have, and this is some news that could potentially ruin the Kansas City Chiefs. Not by much though, because I believe things are going to work out, but as much as you hear of Patrick Mahomes being the captain of the offense, the man that is the captain of the Chiefs defense is none other than Chris Jones, a player that has been consistent as ever for the Kansas City Chiefs, who currently has an expiring contract, who currently isn't reporting to training camp. When Andy Reid was asked about how he feels about the fact that Chris Jones isn't reporting to camp, this is what he had to say.
Andy, this is the first time in Chris's career that he didn't report to camp one time. Were you a bit surprised by that decision given his track record?
Yeah, I'd probably tell you that, yeah. I was a bit surprised.
According to Adam Schefter, Chiefs All-Pro defensive tackle Chris Jones, who has been seeking a new deal this offseason, did not report with the rest of the team to training camp. The two sides remain far apart on a new deal for the Defensive Players of the Year finalist. Now, what do I think is going to happen? To be honest, I think Chris Jones is going to stay put. Chris Jones is apparently demanding Aaron Donald-like money. And do I think he deserves Aaron Donald money? No, not really. I mean, don't get me wrong. He had an incredible season last year. I mean, he was dominant as hell last year as a defensive tackle. 15.5 sacks in one season is Aaron Donald-esque. This man was a nightmare down the middle. He's a 4-time All-Pro. Last year was his first time making it to the first team All-Pro. He finished 3rd place in Defensive Player of the Year voting. I can understand why he would demand that type of money. Do I think he's going to get exactly the same contract as Aaron Donald, or do I think he's going to get like $31.6 million annually like Aaron Donald? I see him getting just slightly less than that. I think the number is going to be about $30 million, or maybe somehow, some way the Chiefs could convince him to come down a little bit to like $27 or $28 million, because Aaron Donald's contract was a huge anomaly in the defensive tackle market. When Aaron Donald became a free agent, he pretty much made the argument that he is the best defensive player in the game, and he should be paid as such. He should be paid more than any outside linebacker, more than any edge rusher, more than any defensive tackle, and the Rams agreed. They paid him as such. When you compare Aaron Donald's contract to any player in the NFL, primarily outside linebackers, edge rushers, etc., he beats out all of their contracts, more than TJ Watt, more than Joey Bosa. And I'm not saying that Chris Jones doesn't deserve this, but I do believe that there is a way for the Chiefs to sit Chris Jones down and say, listen, you're on a Super Bowl contender. Our star quarterback is taking a huge pay cut to make sure we could contend each and every year. We could still make you the 2nd highest paid defensive tackle in the league, but the difference between Chris Jones and Aaron Donald right now is the fact that Chris Jones is on a contending team, whereas Aaron Donald is not. I mean, the Rams literally threw that money at Aaron Donald just to convince him not to retire. I think the two sides are eventually going to come to an agreement anywhere from the ballpark of $25 million to $30 million, and I can't imagine the Chiefs allowing Chris Jones to walk as a result of this. I don't blame Chris Jones for deciding to hold out as a result of this, because he is the most versatile defensive lineman in the game. You're talking about a defensive lineman that lined up at the right edge in 2018 and generated 15.5 sacks. Then he became a left defensive tackle the year after and generated 9 sacks. I mean, screw it. Let's just talk about the fact that this man has lined up on multiple positions on the defensive line, and each and every time he was an All-Pro or a Pro Bowler. So I can understand, because he is the most versatile defensive lineman in the game. And for some reason, he's criminally underrated because he's on the same team as Patrick Mahomes, and the Kansas City Chiefs offense is what you think of the most when you think of the Chiefs. I think this is going to get fixed. I don't think Chiefs fans have much to worry about, but let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.